The education and development of your child sits squarely and solely upon your shoulders as a parent. Feels nice to take a little bit of a break from working for a sec. Now, I'm not saying it's not without other input. You got grandparents, all sorts of family, such as teachers, you know, school, friends, and just mentors. A lot of education and experience can come from these great groups of people. But what I'm saying is that it is your responsibility to make sure that your kid is succeeding in core areas that are just a requirement to get going in life and keep on a forward and upward trajectory. Now you might go and wonder, why the heck is this on your mind? Well, two specific events here in the past week that has kind of tipped my brain in this direction of thinking. One, I watched a YouTube video. Believe it or not, I, Spruce Domberg, get all of my entertainment and educational needs met, by YouTube. Isn't that where the whole world goes for information? I watched a absolutely fantastic video to the point where I watched it twice because I felt the message, one, resonated, and two, was very accurate. There's a channel, Traplines and Inlines. If you haven't checked out this young man, well, I dare you to watch a couple of his videos and not feel the enthusiasm and the drive. In fact, you're gonna watch it and you're gonna wish that you were working harder or doing something more interesting, because the guy is just on fire. Might not be everybody's cup of tea, but anything that's got to do with chainsaws and timber work, heck, I'm down. Geez, I do this while I'm on the phone too. I am a walk and talk kind of guy. I got busy following a set of moose tracks into the back property here, and well, the next thing you know, I'll be to the neighbor's house. His message, and the part that really resonated with me, the video was why I moved off grid at the age of 17. He has a whole story around it. I think you should have a watch. It's a pretty good tale. His lack, and I apologize if I'm misunderstanding the message, but what I got out of it is his lack of purpose in the public school system. And why I resonated with this is because I, like him, felt the same way. A little bit of background, I think I've mentioned it on the channel in previous videos, but if you're new here, I started my career early. I only went to high school for half of grade 11. Half my grade 11 year in high school, and in the grade 12 year, I only had one class. I only had to complete English 12, and the rest of the time I went to trades college to start, get a good head start on a machinist apprenticeship to get into the trades. Anyways, my point to that is I didn't see the point of the traditional grade school education, and old Traplines and Inlines speak to this a little bit, and that's what got my brain kind of working on it. Is we're fed all this information in a prescribed manner from people that they mean well, and I truly believe that they all mean well, but it's just kind of going through the paces. And if you really think about it, you go, well, a lot of the information that's being handed down here, what exactly am I supposed to do with it? You know, the different subjects and the different courses, it's very generalized, and it's pointing you in a general direction, and none of it's really geared to any life skill that is going to be applicable. That might be an unpopular opinion, but that's going to be applicable for a lot of folks. I remember learning things like how to write a haiku poem. What's the structure of that, and how to write a short story, and couldn't have we just learned basic penmanship skills and focused on reading and writing? Maybe how to write a resume, maybe how to write a business plan. I don't think that's the intention of the public school system, but these are things that would help you in life that you could apply and make kids kind of see, like, oh, these are real life skills. Memorizing the entire periodic table of elements. You got me, I'm having a hard time clicking into gear to understand what direction that might take me, because I hate to break it to you, You might tell your kid that they're going to be a rocket scientist, but I don't think that's what's going to happen to all of us. So as I circle back to make my point here, if you don't see a full point, if you don't see the full point of the public school education system, and you as a parent are relying on that system to educate your child, well, you're going to be very disappointed. You're going to be sadly mistaken as to what the outcome is going to be, unless you know, your kid has got some serious drive and ambition behind them without your input. So this is going to circle me around to the second thing that happened in the last week to get me thinking on this track. I'm going to flip the camera around and I'll show you. Now, I feel I got to throw in just a little bit of a disclaimer here as we move forward, because we live in a day and age where people take things so literally that you know, their heads might often explode. I'm just saying that you indeed are responsible for the education of your child as a parent. The school's not a babysitting service, and it surely is not intended to make a superstar out of every single kid. But that doesn't say that your child, especially as they get older, doesn't hold personal responsibility, because there's a lot of that lacking these days. And you know, if you're dealing with a situation where your kid's not willing to put in the effort, well, then you're up against other challenges. But you're never not part of the picture as a parent, and especially in the younger years, you're the source of that guidance and education, and it should continue on that way as things move forward. So anyways, back to my point. So my son came home proud as punch to show me what he had learned about math this particular day at school. And I, as an engaged parent, well, I'm keen to see. You show me, buddy. So he sits down with a pen and paper, and this is what he showed me. What I've learned. He says, if you got to take two numbers like so, and you want to add those two together, he says, I have been shown an absolutely wonderful way to do this that, you know, it just makes it simple as pie. He says, what you got to do, and this information is valid, I see the logic. He says, what you got to do is you're going to break these numbers down. You're going to break them down like this, because that is way easier to add together in your head than that. And I says, okay, I follow. He says, but you got to remember, you got a couple of numbers left over. And he says, because, you know, I already know basic addition. Now I just have to go 5 plus 3 is 80. And 4 plus 5 is 9. And then I can come over here, and then I can just simply add these two together. And then he goes on to write them again like this. And he goes, I know this is 89. Now, when I say it is your responsibility to educate your children, I don't just mean writing, reading, and arithmetic. I mean in life in general. If you're sitting in neutral, waiting for someone to show your kids how to navigate life, well, again, like I said, big disappointment is headed your way. Think of all the times you've screwed up something or had to learn things the hard way. Why not share that with your kids so they can simply avoid those mistakes? You're not having to tell them how to reinvent the wheel. You've already been down the path, screwed up a whole bunch of stuff. You might not know how to show them anything new, but at least you can show them what not to do. So one thing I'm careful to do, maintain enthusiasm. And I go, man, that's pretty impressive. Like, for you to keep track of all these numbers and get going, that's pretty good stuff. But might I add a little bit of a suggestion for you to kind of streamline the process? So I think what most of us are going to be more familiar with is instead of writing out a whole bunch of stuff, I just simply went like this. And I says, now I will show you it's simply just dealing with columns. 4 plus 5 is 9, which you can do in your head. 8, 5 plus 3 is 8. And we've arrived at the same answer. The only difference is I only wrote that down, and you wrote all this down. Now, he wasn't totally sold, right? Because his pride is hurt a little bit. He goes, well, man, I was so happy to be shown that you know, and he reiterated, I think this is a good way to do it because it makes the numbers really simple. And if I were to stand back and look at this situation from a 1,000-foot view, or from the perspective of the gentleman over at Traplines and Inlines, you'd go, man, I see the point of what you're saying, but I can't help but think in my mind that you're trying to water down a subject to make it palatable to a whole group of 30, 40, 50, 100, 500 kids all in this same school, the same grade. what am I going to apply this to in real life? I can see the end goal where we need to get to. I know how to add them numbers together. Let's move on to the next lesson. I'm hungry. I'm hungry for more. I'm hungry for something applicable that's going to just shoot me out like a cannon into the adventure of life. That's what I'm really looking for. So if you're not careful with looking out for your kids and helping them with some of their education and life, well, they might get shot out of a cannon in a direction that's going to turn out to be, I don't even know what the right word to say is. Rather mediocre experience. Now, with little kids, you got to be careful, right? His pride's already hurt a little bit, and I obviously didn't lay the lecture on him like I just spoke to you about the philosophies of life. I says, okay, well, these are simple numbers. 2, right? What if we go like this? What if we got all these numbers? What about all this number like this? We got so many numbers. I says, now what are you going to do? How are you going to write that down? So we went through the process with numbers that had several digits, and by the time he was writing it out in the method that he had learned at school, not only has he had to do like 15 equations and went through 4 trees worth of paper and half a pencil, he was frustrated, confused, and he got the wrong answer. But it's not his fault. Now, just because it's going to bother me here, we're going to go ahead and have to finish this. So we all know about carrying the 1. So 7 plus 4 is 11. So we carry the 1. And I told him, you just carry the 1 to the top of the mountain next door, and it becomes this column. Just do everything in columns, and you are going to find that this is a lot easier to do, my friend. One equation, one answer, a fraction of the time, and now look at the power you possess. Instead of dwelling and sitting and stewing like myself or Traplines and Inlines did, where you're sitting in school really questioning the point of what is being shown here, well, now you are fit to set out into the world with an answer you already possess, and you're ready to hit the next adventure. Feed me the next bit of information. But it can't be done that way. And this I can appreciate about the public school system, and it just reinforces why this is your responsibility to your kids. And I mean your kids right up until their age. There is no end, in my opinion. In fact, all the stuff that I know, everything that I know that has been of major value to me has been learned in the fashion that I just showed you. It wasn't about finding the absolute hardest way to get the answer. It was about learning the fundamentals that get you to the right answer, to do the correct method, the right thing in a efficient amount of time. That way you stay engaged, you're moving ahead with purpose. And these are skills that largely in part I learned from my dad and the other men that were around me in my life. I mean, there's your best source of education. If I think right now of all the skills that I possess that further my life, make money so I can support my family and improve my life, they didn't come from the public school system. They didn't. My son knows how to read and write ahead of when he was supposed to, not because, he's an extraordinarily gifted young man, even though I do think of him that way. It's because we put in a lot of effort as parents. We're not going to sit in neutral and wait for somebody to do it for me. Let's get it done. Let's get it done, Boyle. Let's write some stuff. Let's do some math, and not see you end up in a frustrated position where, instead of going to school, you're skipping school because you're just not really sure what the point is. Just because a whole lot of people do one thing doesn't mean it's the right thing to be doing, right? It's not a good fit for everybody. And I think a lot of kids mistakenly are labeled to say, poor Billy, he's not that sharp, eh? You might want to, I might have to put him in the dummy class, knock him down a level, or have you considered this avenue, or heaven forbid, the worst part, which seems to be wildly popular now, Susie has some sort of disorder. Why? Because she doesn't sit still? Because she doesn't like what you have to say about teaching her to write 700 math questions out that way? That's not the kid's fault, and it's not the teacher's fault. Because at the end of the day, I'd be happy to have this conversation with my son's school. They're hardworking people. I've met them. They're good people. They're working hard, but they are working with a large group of kids. You know, what are you gonna do? If you're the supervisor of a job site and that job site has 2 workers, well, you're gonna be able to support and direct those workers a lot better than a superintendent that's responsible for a job site that's got 1,000 workers. It's all about bandwidth. Human beings only got so much bandwidth, and I'll tell you, that teaching, well, that's a hard job. I don't know if you know this, but they're not allowed to spank kids. So, I mean, they got a lot of patience, and they do the best they do the best they can. But the main teacher in your child's life, the people that are solely responsible for the outcome of their education, is you, the parent. That's it. That's all there is to it. No 2 ways about it. I hope that I got Buddy's message correct there, old trap lines and inlines, because that's what I got out of it. I love the idea of coming across content that helps you reflect on your own life and your own situation. You know, even though I probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But there you have it. I'm gonna get back to work. Big things coming in the shop. Big things coming. Slowly but surely, man. I'll tell you, if you've been watching the channel long enough, you're probably gonna question that comment altogether. I'm gonna cut her off now because my wife is making funny faces at me out the window, and you know, I don't want to lose my professional composure in an episode of Thought with Scott. We'll catch you on the next adventure.